Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Hands on SAP Dev with me, DJ Q Macro. Friday morning again. Good morning to Helmut in Hanover. We're here again. I can't believe it. I got my coffee no data. Why does it say no data? Ah, there we go. Yeah, fine. Why does it say no data? What's going on? Is that working? Hussein, good morning to Hussein. I'm looking at the YouTube studio here, and it's saying it's got the green light, but it says no data. I don't even know what that means. But okay, it's now just changed to excellent connection. So I'm hoping we're okay. Let me know. But yeah, what have we got? What have we got today? Good morning, Leo. Good morning, Pavan. Did everybody? Let me switch to the main scene because I quite like the ASCII aquarium. ASCII aquarium. Have that in the background as well. Instead, rather. So, who of you saw the live stream yesterday on ABAP? I really enjoyed that. I mean, obviously, Rich and Tom are great, but it was so good to be able to sort of chat with Boris and with Carl. Really, really good, really enjoyable. Let me know as well. I mean, we've been sort of talking about it sort of internally after that call, after that live stream. Maybe we could do some more. Let us know what you think. Let me know what you think. I would certainly like to see more of those, do more of those. Vinay, good morning. Good morning to you. Oh, I've got my biscuit here. I'm allowing myself a biscuit on Fridays, I've decided. Is that a thumbs up for the biscuit or a thumbs up for the live stream yesterday? Either way, it's good. So, let me know. Let me know what you thought. My brain, I've got to let you know, my brain is working even slower than usual. So we're just going to take things easy today. We are definitely going to start on our journey looking at part 3 of the SAP Graph tutorial content. And that's going to take us on a journey to OData. So we're actually this mug is valid here. OData at 8 a.m. So we've done OData before on Hands on SAP Dev, but I think if you're anything like me, I enjoy revisiting tech, especially tech that, well, to me doesn't appear, it doesn't come natural. So OAuth. I understand it, but I have to think about it a lot. So this is a great opportunity, I think, for us to revisit OAuth in the context of this new thing that we're learning as well. Great to know that you worked on assembly language. I worked on that in my college. Excellent, Vinay. What sort of assembly language was that you worked on? I mean, obviously there are lots of different ones, but yeah, it's a different sort of mentality, isn't it, to think about programming at that level. I really enjoyed it. It was very arcane. It felt magic, especially for me. That was my first experience of work life as well. I mean, I'd done some assembler programming on the 6502 on my Acorn Atom, but this 370 assembler on the mainframe was quite different. You missed yesterday's live stream, Pavan, but don't worry, you can catch up. In fact, let me go to the here it is. There we go. Exploring SAP Graph. That's us right now. SAP Developer News. Where is it? Because it's not on Hands on SAP. Let me go to the videos. There we go. Go to the videos. Here we go. ABAP past, present, and future. Let me just grab that. Let me go back again. And let me just bring in, let's paste that in there. And also the SAP Developer News. Oh yeah, that reminds me, the SAP Developer News. Let me just grab that URL as well. Let's go back. Let me share that with you as well. So the SAP Developer News is a fun item right at the end, which I'll talk about shortly. So yeah, check out the link to the, I've just seen the word ABAP hater here from Helmut. Check out the link and yeah, it's sort of a fun conversation. So Helmut says, I'm an official ABAP hater with a smiley face. So I didn't attend. Okay, that's all right, Helmut, that's all right. You know, we don't all have to love the same things. You know, the world would be very boring if we all liked the same things, right? Oh, Leo says, I knew you were going to say that, Helmut. Okay, Leo, maybe you know something that I didn't about that. Oh, so Vinay used the code for the 8080. Wow, yeah. Amazing. Oh, that takes me back. My goodness me. Helmut says, I managed to work in SAP environment for many years with a minimum of ABAP. Yeah. I suppose I could say, I think everybody could say something similar. Like, you know, I've managed to work for many years in the SAP environment without really touching WebDim Java, without really touching SAP script. Although I did a little bit of that, but didn't like it. A good friend of mine, Robert Shields, really liked SAP script. In fact, so much so that his Twitter ID is SE71. Who can tell me what SE71 is? That is a magnificent... Hussein, that is... Helmut's got a magnificent... I can't even speak. Magnificent skill. Anyway, let's just celebrate. Actually, one of the things at the end of the news, which I've just pasted a link to, was the fact that I, on Twitter, had been running this sort of little race, hadn't I? Let me just go to twitter.com qmacro. I'm not sure where it was. Where is it? There. So it was really sort of to, you know, have a bit of fun. I noticed that the SAP Developers YouTube channel were almost at the 10,000 subscriber limit. What's the word? Oh, my brain's not working. And I was almost at 1,000 kilometers for this year. So I was like, who's going to get there first? And I'm now on, what am I on? Let's have a look. 972 as of this morning for this year. But the YouTube channel is now at 10,094. So well done, you all, for getting there. So I think that's a great achievement. So thank you for everybody who's subscribed. Anybody here watching that's not subscribed, consider subscribing, because it helps you. Maybe it helps us as well. It's just a nice thing, I think. Anyway, let's get on with what we want to start looking at today. I don't think we'll finish looking at tenant credentials and OAuth today, but that's okay. I know that some of you sort of just lurk here while you're sort of at work and everything. So, let's just treat this as a relaxed thing, almost like a learning combined with sort of open working. DJ's expression reminds me of Philip Rosenthal. It makes me happy. Vinay. Which expression was that, Vinay? Let me know. I've got a lot of silly expressions. SAP Graph. There we go. There's part one from Chaim. And I know that in there, there we go. So this is what we're doing. We're looking at SAP Graph, and over the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've looked at an introduction to SAP Graph. We've started kicking the tires. Good afternoon, Guru. Welcome. Everybody welcome. We've started kicking the tires of SAP Graph. And last week, we were using an API key from SAP API Business Hub. It was like a personal API key for me and a personal API key for you, if you were doing it. But that's sort of artificial. It's very, very good for testing and just sort of exploring the OData surface of SAP Graph. And we did a little bit of that last week. But I think this next tutorial, authentication, the next tutorial part, use SAP Graph securely with real data, authentication. Learn how to authenticate users to access a real SAP Graph tenant securely using the OAuth protocol. O with a small o, don't know why it's small o, but there we go. We'll let Chaim off because Chaim's awesome. Yeah, I think we should start going through this. Now, I've not actually really read this since I took my initial look, so we're going to do this together. We're going to learn together. Yeah, let's see. So some of you might have been on the first part of this series where in fact, have I got it here? Yeah, there we go. I created, in my hands-on SAP Dev sort of trial ID, I've created this graph beta, and with you, I created a key, a service key. Click to select. There, there we go, close. I didn't actually mean to show that, but there we go. I'm going to delete it and in fact, let's delete it and recreate it. Yeah, there we go. Let's delete it now. What do we do? Let's go into here. Service key, SK1, delete. There we go. So if you were writing that down, it's useless now anyway. So the reason that I suggested that we create a service key is because that gets us close to what Chaim talks about in the blog post. Well, let's go to the blog post here. So SAP Graph tenants. So let's just read this together very briefly. In part 2, we access data from a pre-configured SAP Graph tenant that is used to access sandbox data via the Business Hub. Anybody with an API key can access a sandbox. It's not a secure way, but it's also not a normal way as well. So we're going to access SAP Graph securely via OAuth. Doesn't share password data, but instead uses authorization tokens to prove an identity between clients and services like SAP Graph and supports single sign-on. If we read through this, oh yeah, here we go. So SAP Graph is a multi-tenant service. Customer administrators use the SAP Business Technology Platform to subscribe to SAP Graph by configuring one or more SAP Graph tenants. Right, so what we've done already, let's go to the command line actually. Where are we here? We don't need that anymore. Let's just do that. Let's kill that as well. I think I'm already logged in, but let's just log in again. Key macro at on SAP Dev. Okay, so if I look at the services, we can see the graph beta. And if I look at the service keys for graph beta, now we deleted it. Oh, hold on, that's odd. I thought we deleted it. What's going on? Did I not press go or something? Come on. Greetings to you, E. Greetings. It's still there. Okay, well, anyway, let's use the command line to delete it instead. And what we want to do there is to use the delete service, not delete service, delete service key, DSK, CF DSK, graph beta, and it's SK1. Yes. All right, so the general idea, what Chaim was saying in this particular part 3 is when you set up SAP Graph for real, you're going to create an instance of the service or a tenant. I think tenant and instance are interchangeable here in terms of names to use, words to use in terms of concepts. I think possibly tenant is used more often in the context of where you're subscribing to a service that already exists somewhere else in a different account, and instances where you're just creating a copy of a service, instance of a service, right? So it's the same sort of thing, same sort of concept. And the general idea from SAP Graph's documentation is that there are different roles. You know, you have an administrator role and you have a developer role, and you might have a key user role as well, which I haven't really talked about yet. But the whole idea is that the administrator will use BTP Cockpit, or the command line that we're doing to set up a tenant, to set up a subscription, an instance of the service, and then start configuring that. But also in that setup, some credentials for that particular tenant are required to be able to give to the developer, for that developer to start using in building out applications, in authenticating, using OAuth to make the calls to the SAP Graph sort of OData surface. So, and that's what it talks about here. So it's multi-tenant, blah 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 blah. The SAP Graph tenant is the key to a specific landscape of customer systems. So the administrator, in setting up the SAP Graph tenant, in setting up the instance, will also start, and we haven't done this yet, start configuring, saying, well, here's the configuration, and we've got this particular SAP system, and this particular SAP system, and this one here, and we're going to set up destinations to these and configure what data is where, so that SAP Graph can do its magic in consolidating the data from these different systems into this uniform, unified data model. Okay, most customers will configure multiple landscapes, for instance, development stage and production. Yeah, we're just doing one for now. Now, I don't have any SAP landscape. And if you're an individual like me, you may not have any either. So what Chaim is doing here is saying, well, if you are interested in executing this tutorial and don't have access to your own SAP managed data sources, contact the SAP Graph team. I encourage you to do this in part 1, and they'll send you a credentials.json file. Now, that credentials.json file is basically what you get when you create a service key. And I think the first thing we'll do is look into that to understand what's in that service key. Because what's happening here is that we have, I think I should say credentials.json, shouldn't it? Is we have an auth class in here, which we're going to start implementing, which brings in the data from the credentials file. Okay, so let's take things one step at a time and look at what's in that credentials file. And I've been thinking just before, in the 15 minutes while I'm making the coffee, I was thinking this is going to be quite difficult to do in a live stream because, of course, I don't want to expose client ID and client secrets. So I was thinking maybe I could use JQ to sort of remove that data so we can show it. So, because we want to look at the stuff together, right? So I'm going to go here. We haven't got a service key now, so let's create a service key. Create service key. Create service key? Graph beta my service key. Oh, let's click part 3. Part 3. Okay, we created a service key. So let's have a look at that service key. But before we do, the service key contains a client ID and a client secret inside the UAA. I know this because we looked at this before, inside the UAA node. So if what I'll do is I'll grab the service key graph beta part 3. What was that message there? Part 3, and I'll put it into part3.json. Now I'm just going to move over to secret for a second. That failed actually. Service key. Let me go back again to the main. That did fail. Look, part 3 incorrect. Requires an argument. What am I doing wrong? CF. Services. Oh, service key. Oh, of course. What did I do? Oh yeah, service. There's no shorthand for getting the service key. Part3.json. Yeah, that's better. So let's just go to secret again. VI part3.json. Yeah, UAA, client ID, and client secret. Okay, fine. Go back to main. So I reckon, let me open that again. I'm going to remove some of the stuff from the client ID and the client secret. So it doesn't even, so if now I can say JQ part 3. There we go. So I've removed some of the information from client ID and client secret. So, you know, they're useless. But what I maybe want to do is JQ UAA dot client ID equals secret, and also UAA dot client secret equals secret. Part 3. Let's try that. There we go. So that's now. Where are we? That's now changed the values on the fly, not changed it in the file or anything like that, change the values on the fly for client ID and client secret. So maybe I can use that to share this stuff with you. Okay. Yeah, why don't we do that then? So in fact, new script. Do I want to do that? Oh, actually, that'll do. So yeah, okay, well, there we go. Let's do that. Part3.json. So what we've got in this service key is a ton of stuff. The API URL, so that's where we authenticate against. The client ID and the client secret. Those two things we'll need for the OAuth flow, which we'll look at in a second. We'll also need, there's the authentication. There's the authentication that I need to authenticate against in the OAuth flow. And then this here, outside of the UAA, this here is effectively the root of the API of SAP Graphs, you know, the API, the SAP Graphs endpoint. So with that in mind, let's have a look. We got the required credentials JSON. In fact, we've got this as well, right? Let's just bring this in. O3. Yeah, there we go. So that's just, we've got this. Remember from part 2, we found the graph example apps, SAP samples repository. And we're in part 3. So while I open this, let's open this up in VS Code. There we go. Part3.json, x.json. Let's remove x.json, and remove part3.json as well for a second so we don't look at them. Yeah, there we go. We got package lock. So let's have a look. Source, auth.js. So that's better. We can look at that a little bit bigger. So we're bringing in these credentials.json. Now, have I got credentials.json already? I think I might have copied that in. Into the source. Yes, I did. So this credentials.json, I wonder if I could do that as well, right? What did I do already? Yeah, there we go. JQ source credentials.json. Perfect. So these are the credentials that I received from Chaim from the SAP Graph at sap.com, and you will get something very similar. There we go. There's the client ID and the client secret sort of secreted out. Oh, I apologize. Thank you, Pavan. And also thank you, Vinay. I'd forgotten I was still stuck on. I've done that before. So I apologize. I can't believe I've been I don't know, talking for 5 minutes without realizing I was still on secret. I need some way of, how do you think I can sort of alert myself to know that I'm still on the secret thing? I don't know. So Vinay, Felix Rosenthal expressions show how happy he is while doing his show. Somebody feed Phil. Is it same for you when do a show on coding? I am happy when I'm coding, when I'm doing my show on coding. Today I'm struggling a little bit. Sorry, yes, thank you, Vinay. It should be okay now. So yeah, here we've got the client ID and client secret redacted. So we can sort of have a look at what we get here. And in fact, what we get is something very similar to the service key. We've got the URI, as in this is the SAP Graph API endpoint. We get a place where we need to authenticate against the URL, sandbox prod public. Okay, fine. Not sure what that is, but okay, it looks like some sort of authentication endpoint. And we also get a client ID, which is redacted here, and a client secret. Okay, so that is what is in our credentials.json. So let's move now to here and see how these are used, right? So this here is the Auth.js. This is what's described in this section of Chaim's tutorial here, part 3. So what have we got? We've got credential.json, and in the constructor, we grab the UAA.clientID, which is UAA.clientID. We grab that there, and we also grab the client secret, and we also grab from the UAA section the URL. Okay. Okay, fine. Let's put a breakpoint there. Okay. Let's put a breakpoint in every function, okay, to see what's going on. There's the fetch token, there's the get token, there's the get middleware, returning that. Let's just put a breakpoint just to see how this works. So we got the auth.json. I'm not going to open the credentials.json because that's got the real secret and the real client ID and real client secret. And then we talk about here, Chaim talks about graph.js, right? We will reuse the graph class that we saw in part 2, but now that we're required to authenticate the user before we can use that, we need to make a few changes, right? So this is the new version of what we saw in part 2 with a constructor, right? What does that do? Let's look at it in VS Code. Graph. The graph has got a constructor as well, so let's do that as well. Auth. This.auth equals auth. Ah, right. Okay. Yep. Fine. Const token. Let's put a breakpoint there as well, and just see what happens. And in fact, just to go to E's question, you cover refresh token in this session. I don't know yet because we're just learning as we go. I suspect that we may get a refresh token. In fact, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Access token as a cookie. Credentials. Yeah, okay, fine. And hello quotes. Let's look at the auth again. Ah, now there's a clue. There's a clue as to answering that question. We've got this redirect to OAuth authorize. Now, OAuth authorize, and I suspect there's going to be a redirect and also a response type equals code. Okay. So we may get to see a refresh token, but this thing here, the response type equals code, gives us a clue that this is going to be the authorization code OAuth flow. So it's not a, well, in fact, let's go to SAP samples. Let's go to SAP samples. And in SAP samples, which is, we have a ton of sample code and documentation, cloud API, somewhere here. There we go, Cloud API's virtual event. So we used this, part of this in Devtoberfest last year. And I do remember that this exercise 2, understand OAuth 2.0 at a higher level, this talks about OAuth 2 grant types. And the authorization, there we go, the authorization code, let me just put a link to that. Understand OAuth grant types. Let's go there. Let's just put that there. Perfect. So the authorization code grant type, this normally involves a request initiated by the client to a human resource owner asking them to grant access. If the access request is approved, an authorization code is returned to the client, which then contacts the authorization server to ask for the code to be exchanged for an access token, which can be then used to authenticate calls to the appropriate endpoints. I suspect that this flow that Chaim has built for us in part 3 is an authorization code flow. Okay, and quite often, to ease question, quite often when you get an access token, you also get a refresh token. So let's look out for that. This is not client credentials, i.e. this is not a flow that doesn't involve a human. So with that in mind, let's go back and have a look. So what else do we need to breakpoint here? Graph, that'll do. Okay, and the hello quotes. Let's just run it and see what happens, right? Use auth, app use, new auth. Oh, we got the auth there. New auth in the constructor. In fact, let's put a breakpoint there instead of there. Perfect. Right, let's run it, shall we? Let's run it in debug mode. Let's launch a Node.js thing here. Launch program. What's going on? What's going on? Ah, right. Okay, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Debug console. What's going on? Are we running it yet? Are we running it? Where are we? What is not happening? Let's just collapse these things here. Let's bring this up a little bit. Why is it not? What's not happening? Well, tell you what, let's stop. Well, nothing's happening, so let's just run that manually first of all. Let's see what happens. Go into source and run. Ah, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, I think I know what's going on. I don't need that anymore because I think in order to invoke it, we need to run hello quotes. What was the thing that we had here? That's why it's running Auth Js. We want hello quotes, don't we? Let's try that again. Launch program. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So what had happened was I'd created the configuration, the launch configuration, but I think because I'm looking at Auth Js, VS Code probably, or it's probably my fault, said, right, okay, this is the script that needs to be run to kick everything off, but it wasn't. Okay, so the first thing that happens, can we look at the code? The first thing that happens is in hello quotes. Here we go. Const auth equals new auth. Okay, so that's going to call a constructor. And that's where we are. So this .client ID equals credentials.uaa client ID and client secret. Let's jump down. Step over. Step over. Step over. So this auth URL, for example, is exactly that value from uaa.url inside the credentials.json file. Okay. And similarly for client ID and client secret, we've got those values from there as well. So far, so good. Okay, so that's that. Let's jump over again. Auth.get middleware. Now, have we got a breakpoint for the get middleware? I can't remember. Auth fetch token get middleware. Okay, let's continue then. Let's jump in. Let's continue. There we go, get middleware. So what this is doing is what? It's returning a function that takes a request and takes a response object and also takes like a next function as well. So this is classic Express, right? What we're looking at here is, just look at Auth as well, is Express. And this is an Express app, and we can add something that sits in the middle of handling an incoming request and spitting out a response, right? So that's what that is. So let's have a look. Get middleware. And what Express, I think, is expecting as a piece of middleware is a function that Express can give the incoming request and also give the current response, which may be empty, may be partly complete from a previous piece of middleware. And it can also give this piece of middleware the next function to call if necessary. So here we go. The redirect URI. Let's see what that is. In fact, this is not going to execute now. This is just returning a function. So let's put a breakpoint there to see when that's done. So this is just returning a function, and that's it. That's all get middleware does. So let's continue to run. And now, okay, now we've gone from the Auth.js to this thing here, const graph equals new graph, passing it the Auth object, the Auth instance, as it were. Okay, so what's going on here? In the graph here, we've got Auth equals Auth. I'm not going to hover over that because I think that will show us the client ID and client secret, but we've also got the API URL, right? So where is the API URL? There we go. The API URL is this thing here. API URL is the credentials, which is the file, which is that one, which is what we saw, right? Which is what we saw here. So it is not that one. It is that one, isn't it? Yeah. So that's eu30.graph.sap/API. So that's the API URL. API version v1. So this is the information to construct actual SAP Graph OData calls, I'm presuming, right? So far so good. Okay, that's just creating some instance values. Let's continue. Where are we now? Oh, there we go. Example app listening at localhost 3003. Okay, so let's open up Brave. Let's open up a incognito on Brave and go to localhost 3003. And before we do, let's have a look at there we go, the network. I'll preserve the log, see what's going on, make that a little bit bigger. Right, are we ready? Go. Ooh, there we go, perfect. So what's happened? Let's go back to here. This is the GET request. In fact, let's just move, GET request there. And what we're getting is the root / okay. That, of course, has caused an incoming request to be received by the Express framework. And what that's done is pass that request to the piece of middleware that we configured just before. Okay, so this piece of middleware, which is the function here, is now able to, get involved in handling the response. So what's going on? Well, we've got the request object, which is this incoming request that's come from our Brave browser. The request protocol is HTTP. And the request.getHost, what's that? And the callback URI. Okay, so let's do in the debug console, let's do a request.getHost. What's that? Get host. There we go, localhost 3003. That's interesting. Why is it sort of deconstructing it and constructing it? But anyway, so the redirect URI is going to be localhost 3003 / my callback URI. Okay, fine. So it's constructed that, fine. Let's jump over that. The redirect URI looks like that, okay? Now, in certainly any authorization code OAuth flow, this is exactly what's going to happen, because we're flowing from the application, in this case, the Express app. We're flowing to an external authentication mechanism, which in this case is powered by XSUAA, which is powered by a business technology platform, to ask me, DJ, to authenticate, because this is an authorization code thing. It involves a human, me. But of course, once that authentication is complete and successful, as in I've put the correct username and password, and I've said, yes, I'm happy with this program having access to these resources, the flow needs to redirect back originally to the app for the app to be able to continue. So that's what this is from. This is right. So if the URL of the request starts with callback URI, which it doesn't because it's just a slash, then we handle something. So let's not go there now. In fact, let's put a breakpoint there for when that happens. Let's just put a breakpoint there and a breakpoint there. Just run. Where are we? Oh, okay. What happened? We jumped out. Get token. What's the call stack? Okay. How do we get to get token? We got to get token from auth. Get token, get token, get token. In the middleware, that's why. In Graph here, where's the middleware? Here we go, yes. Else if this dot get token, that's why we've jumped to there. Look, so we're not in a callback situation yet. So it needs to go and see if it can get the token. So there's the request. So this dot get token is inside of here. Let's create a cookies object from the headers. Is there any cookie? There's no cookie, okay? So there's going to be nothing. So let's just jump over that one and have a look at cookies.getCookieName. Get cookie name, cookies.get. It's undefined. There's no cookie, okay? So because we're just starting out on this process. Right, so fine, let's just jump again and again. So if we're not in a redirect situation and we don't have a cookie, which contains a token, I guess, then we redirect to the authentication URL appended with OAuth or authorize client ID equals whatever the client ID is, with the redirect URI being the redirect URI that we've actually just constructed earlier. Okay, but we need to URI encode it because it's a value in a query string, and also saying response type code. So let's let that go, shall we? Let's just say go. Now we get this pop up here, which is from the Brave. So we don't want to authenticate with this user again, right? So now what's happened is that the authentication endpoint has redirected us to a logon screen. Let's just think about that for a second. There we can see the authorize call with the client ID and the redirect URI going to /OAuth authorize. So if I authenticate, okay, that authentication flow is complete. I, as a human, have said, yeah, that's fine. So now where are we? We're now in another call, right? So a call's come back. What call is that, by the way? That call is, what's the last one there? There we go, look. My callback URI with a code. Okay, because we've authorized it and it's come back with a code because we said response type equals code. So if rec.url starts with, there's the rec.url. We grab the code. Okay, fine, let's do that. Let's run that, grab the code, we fetch the token. Oh, now then. Okay, with this code, does anybody know what's going on here right now? If we look back at the, where is it? At the authorization code thing here. Here we go. The flow that's happened so far is that the client, our little Express plus middleware Node.js stuff from Chaim, that's made an authorization request to the resource owner, which is me. The resource owner, me, has authenticated, and we have this redirect back with a code. Then the client has to say, well, I've got this code, this short code, but I can't really use it for anything. I have to exchange this code and for an access token. So that's what's happening right now. We are D right now, or is that we are Smile right now? Thank you, Vinay. Thank you. Okay, this is for my brain, and I'm really tired today. For my brain, this is understandable, but it's complex. This is why I'm going through it slowly. So let's just summarize again. We are at point D right now. Point D. Point D. What's point D? I don't know what point D is, Vinay. Sorry. Oh, I see. Yes, we are at point D. Exactly. Well, in fact, we're at point C. We're just about to see point C happen. Yes. Perfect, Vinay. Perfect. That's exactly where we are. So let's go back here. We are now going to fetch that token. So fetch token is this thing. Here, please give me an access token. Here's a code, and here's my client ID, and here's my client secret. So I've authenticated myself, and I've got this code, which only works with the client ID and the client secret. And the authorization server. So let's see, what is this? What is the authorization server? Where are we sending this to? The redirect URI, that's fine, okay. Param set client ID, redirect URI, grant type authorization code. So the grant type authorization code in this HTTP request that's being constructed, that's saying, I want an authorization code, please. So let's go through there. There we go. Let's just await fetch. Let's put a breakpoint there so we can have a look at it before the call is actually sent off. And response, await. Okay, fine. There we go. So let's run that through to there. Okay. We're about to make this call. And what does this call look like? Well, it's a call to there. Sandbox prod public authentication EU10 HANA-ondemand.com. And remember that one? That is that thing. Okay, so everything we get in the credentials.json, in the service key, effectively, right? That's what we need to do this OAuth, this authorization code OAuth flow. So let's go back again. What else have we got in there? Well, we can see that instead of OAuth authorize, we've now got a URI, a path info OAuth token. And again, if we look at, is it documented here? OAuth token, no, it's not. OAuth token, OAuth authorize, spelled with the US spelling. OAuth authorize, OAuth token. I'm just wondering if there's a nice way to see. There we go. OAuth 2 uses two endpoints, the authorize endpoint and the OAuth token endpoint. The authorize endpoint is used to interact with the resource owner and get the authorization to access the protected resources. And the OAuth token endpoint is used by the application in order to get an access token or a refresh token. That's to your question there, E. Okay. Yeah, so in the authorization code flow, which is what we're doing, the application exchanges the authorization code it got, and we've just got that authorization code from the authorization endpoint, for an access token. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that we're passing the parameters that we've set there above, and I'm not going to show the parameters. The parameters have got the client ID and client secret, right? But we're passing the client ID, the client secret, the code that we got, that short code, the code that we got from here. We're also passing the redirect URI again, so we can get back again. But this time, we're sending it to OAuth token, asking for an authorization grant type based thing, which is an access token. So let's do that. And it's a post, because we're sending the stuff in the body, which is name value pairs. And what we're looking for is application JSON. Okay, so let's run that. And then we should, because it's doing a, where is it? It's doing an await. We should see it just dumped to there. There we go. The call's been made. So we got the response. And we got the JSON. Okay, well, okay, we've got the JSON. Let's just run that one. Come on. JSON. Oh, we're not in there now. Okay. Okay, so fine. We got the JSON. I missed that. I should have put a breakpoint there as well. That's okay. We got the JSON. And inside the JSON is an access token. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So now what's happened is that we're now breakpointed again at this piece of middleware. So let's go back to the Brave browser. There we go. That is the thing here. My callback URI, and then the client has made a call, and that's come back again. Okay, so we're not there yet. That's not relevant yet. But this time, let's see, redirect URI. Let's construct that redirect URI. This time, we did get a token. Have we got a this.get token? No, we didn't get a token. Not this. Else next. Ah, yeah, okay. No, we got a token, and we don't want to redirect there, so we want to do a next. Okay, let's run that. So actually, we're now here. We're now saying, okay, let's process this actual now authenticated request for the /get. So token, get token. Let's just jump across that one. Oh, I think what's going on? Handle promise. Yes. Okay. We saw this error last time, didn't we? What we should have got. What we should have asked for, rather. Where are we? Where is it there? Oh, no, that should have worked. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Let's launch it again, very briefly. Run our way through. We don't want that anymore. Let's run through, run through, run through. Example app listening. Let's just undo all these breakpoints for a second. Okay. Go here, go here, go here. Let's try that again. Let's clear that before we start. I've already authenticated. Maybe we'll clear the cookies. Oh, is it waiting for me? What's going on? What? Ooh, interesting. Whoa. Can anybody spot what's going on? What have I done wrong here? It's redirected to the customer quotes, but it's unauthorized. That's interesting. Okay. Localhost refused to connect. Let's just remove all the cookies. Let's try that again, that one more time. 3003. Okay, please start a debug session. Okay, let's start a debug session. We've disabled all the breakpoints. Are we ready to run a debug session again? Example app listening at localhost 3003. Okay, let's do that again. 3003, go. Ah, wait a minute, it might not be, I might have authenticated with the wrong person. Log on. No. There's the callback code again. There we go. I'd authenticated with the wrong person. That's why. So there we go. I mean, okay, it took us a while, but hopefully we've understood a little bit more about this flow. We're by no means at the end of our OAuth discovery, so we'll cover a lot of this again in the next episode. But let me know in the chat now, was that easy to follow? Was that hard to follow? I'm wondering whether that was too hard to follow, whether this is the sort of thing that is worth doing on a live stream. Before we finish, let me know in the chat if you're still there, and we'll see. But I think we now get what is going on. To summarize, in fact, we can use this to summarize, right? We requested localhost 3003 / because we hadn't authenticated, because there was no cookie. We've not even looked at the way that the auth and the graph classes from Heim use these cookies. Okay, so we'll look at that next time. We get an authorization request. We get redirected to log in. All this stuff here is to do with the login authentication, you know, getting the CSS and getting the image of SAP. Thank you, Helmut. And what we get as a result of authenticating is the authentication server says, yep, okay, the human has successfully authenticated and said, yes, they're fine. Implicitly in this case, sometimes it's explicit. And so the authentication server will send back this code to the callback that the client had asked for, the callback URL. There you are, client, here's a little code. Now please go and exchange it for an access token. I'll be waiting for you, type thing. So that's what the client did. Okay, it's 8:58. I want to keep that just an hour. Because that's probably enough for our brains for now. So thanks so much for joining. Yeah, a nice quiet Friday doing this together. I do enjoy it. So yeah, I hope you have a nice weekend, and I will see you all next week.